Today is October 11th, 2017, and this is old Mgtow reporting. I got a job. I got a job, baby. I got a job. And it's waiting tables. Help me buy jackets and help me buy food and pay rent. Today is October 11th, 2017, and these the constructs of football, baseball, basketball is so important. And what somebody said, all right, let's look at construct. I haven't made a video in a while, and I'm really happy about it. You know, I remember when making videos was like the most important thing in my life. Build or erect something, typically it's building, road, or machine. Form an idea or theory by bringing together various, the constructs like academia, debt, profit, containing the various conceptual elements, typically one considered to be subjective and not based on empirical evidence. Okay, whatever that means. History is largely an ideological construct. I mean, how do you remember something that is remembered? And it's like the only thing you might remember about this great event is that you didn't get in. A physical thing that is deliberately built, or a metaphorical thing like the construct of academia, the construct of sports, and the tribalism. Let's look up tribalism, and then we're going to go on. Tribalism, the state of being organized in a tribe, chiefly derogatory, the behavior and attitude that stem from strong loyalty to one's own tribe or social group. It's like dumb motherfuckers, man. All right. Don't be a motherfucker.
Cam with an on-camera apology saying, "Be better than me." Max, were you satisfied with his apology?
Yup, and as far as I'm concerned, it's over now. That's any PR firm out there looking at how to handle this situation like that. Whoever came up with this is right on the money, and Cam owned it. If I was nitpicking, I would say a couple times his body language indicated that he didn't maybe really feel the way he was saying, but that's totally nitpicking. He owned it. He showed he understood what he did wrong, what the issue was. He apologized. You can't look into a person's heart, right? But that's okay. As long your behavior has to conform to civil norms, and that's essentially what he's saying. And he's claiming even more than that. He talked about his personal life, his own daughters, the women in his family. He talked about the fact that he was disappointing, including to himself. He challenged himself to be better, told kids, be better than that. I don't know what more you could really ask for. And also, if you just heard it, would almost hear as though it was prepared. When you watched it, it seemed extemporaneous. He delivered it extemporaneously, it seemed. So, as far as I'm concerned, that was handled so well that the...
Okay, we got to find out what extemporaneous means. Let's see what it means. Extemporaneous. Okay, it means temporary.
Now over, and others should take a page from Cam's book in this respect.
Max Kellerman, I completely agree with you. I think it's over. I don't think he could have handled it any better. I thought he came across as appropriately contrite and sincere. And it was extemporaneous. I didn't see any written statement. I didn't get the impression that he was reading anything. He brought up his two daughters. He brought up mothers. He brought up how his comments came across as disrespectful and what have you. He acknowledged how wrong he was. And really, when you think about the modern day athlete, or shall I say any professional in any profession in this country or in this world, the bottom line is that it's about ownership. It's about taking ownership. None of us are flawless. All of us make mistakes, myself included. I know that. And the fact is that we would want forgiveness, particularly if we spoke from our heart, if we looked into the eyes of the world and said what we had to say. I mean, some people are going to have a problem with the fact that he didn't stand up in a press conference and take questions from reporters. Well, what is there to question? He was wrong. It was irresponsible and stupid for him to do what he did and to say what he said. He acknowledged that.
Okay, this is the part where I have to come in and say that this is me and some of my artwork, my photography, my own. I am my own subject to the degree that when I speak, it all comes back to me. I believe that Cam Newton was right with what he said. That I mean, a man is not doesn't have the ability to speak about how it feels to be pregnant. A man doesn't know. I mean, unless a woman runs a cross pattern and gets punched in the face, or you got a block on the play before you run that pattern. You don't know. I mean, you don't know what it feels like to have your pussy spread open and you don't know what it's like to a man. I mean, it's a man who's never, or even a female who hasn't had a baby. To know what it's like to have a baby.
To hear a female talk about routes, well, it wasn't funny. Listen, Cam. It's funny to hear a female talk about routes, well,
I think it's funny to hear a man talk about having a baby. But this is where I'm going with this, and I don't want to make it long, but I just wanted to know how quickly these so-called black people jump on the bandwagon to marginalize a person for his own opinion. I don't think you don't have to apologize for saying nigger. I don't suggest using the word nigger, but you can say it. Why are you not allowed to say it? People talk about murder. Which words say the word murder or the word abortion? Let's look up that word. This is a terrible word. You can say abortion to the deliberate termination of human pregnancy. Human pregnancy. Most of them often performed during the first 28 weeks. 28 weeks. 28 divided by 7 is 4. 28 days. For 28 weeks. That's like almost over half of the year, 52 weeks. 28 divided by 4 is 7 days. the expulsion of a fetus from the uterus by natural causes before it is able to survive independently. Oh, my Heavenly Father. So, there will be more outrage by Cam Newton's comment about a woman who never played football or ran a route in the NFL to be explained in the routes of an NFL player. That's why I don't look at football anymore. My favorite team is whoever beats the Falcons, and not because I hate the Falcons, because I love to see the Falcon fans cry.
Aided by the fact that there was video there. The first time I came across that apology, I read the words off a piece of paper, and they did not come across as being sincere. At the very least, in watching the video, you do get this impression that he does feel like he has done something that has hurt people, and there's some measure of apology that he's offering. The only problem is it was still, if you took offense, I apologize. If you think that...
Okay, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This mug is getting paid to talk about an irrelevant subject. What the... I'm not getting paid, but I'm talking about something that's relevant. I'm speaking about something that's relevant. How these constructs, these tribalism, and then they lead out the person to say crucify him. This mug.
Did was wrong is wrong whether or not somebody took offense to it or not. The approach that he took would not be cool even if no one had anything to say about it at the time. So I don't expect somebody in 24 hours who seemed to be pretty clear that he wasn't going to apologize, then coming around and apologize. I don't expect him to fill in all the blanks on the in-between. But if what you needed was some acknowledgement that a wrong was done, that's what you got there. If you needed some deeper understanding of why it was wrong, you didn't have any evidence that it was there. And I don't know if you were going to get that in a day or how long it's going to take for him to get there, but I think he's got some things to figure out.
Tim Calishaw? I mean, I tend to give him full credit for this because I've seen and heard a lot, read a lot of apologies in sports through the years. It's usually somebody issuing a press release or somebody clearly reading one that's probably written by somebody else. At the very least, this wasn't that. This was him sitting there talking to a camera for about 1:40 seconds and giving his thoughts. People can be very cynical. They can say he's only doing this because he lost his sponsorship, and that may be true. That may be exactly why he's doing it, but that doesn't mean that's not still a good thing, that's how you learn sometimes that words can be hurtful when you do this. So I accept the apology, and I think everybody can move on from it. But I doubt that they will because, this network and others devoted pretty much a 24-hour news cycle to a look at Cam and what he said, trying to crack a joke during a press conference that went really badly. If a comedian does a joke and it fails, it falls flat. If you're a quarterback, you've got to pay a heavy price.
Do you think it was overblown, Tim?
Yes, I mean, I don't think we should, and I understand saying that means I'm not sensitive to this issue. And I've seen what women reporters have gone through for 30 and 35 years, and sometimes it is awful. But I don't also think we should think that any NFL quarterback sets the standard for how people think.
Mm-hmm. Ramona Shelburne?
Yeah, look, he can say he's sorry, but he can't unsay what he said the other day, right? Like, it doesn't change what he said. Like, I still feel the same way about what he said initially to the female reporter because I've been in that situation. Like, I had a college basketball coach when I was a young reporter just do the exact same thing. They didn't necessarily say it's because you're a woman, but they were making fun of me and cracking jokes, and the two other reporters from the LA Times and the Orange County Register were laughing and
Let's go on. I don't care about Cam Newton. Cam Newton's got videos of him dressed up as a little tooth fairy or something like that. Cam Newton has sold his soul. When a person sells their soul, they lose their ability to say, per se, what they want to say. Themselves. It's not these facts per se that are important. Okay. Per se. A person. It's not the facts of the story that are important. This is the thing. Basically, the thing that I want to show is how quickly the black woman which I said I wasn't going to make videos about, but anymore. I mean, any more videos about them, but I'm still trying to convince you how much they hate the black man and how much they are ready to crucify him at their own, leisure. One of my paintings, one of my concepts. Look how quickly they seize on and put themselves out there to say, crucify him, crucify him.
So let me get this straight. You hurt a white bitch feelings by telling her the truth and the whole world comes down on you? Huh.
Okay, let's do this one first.
Maybe it's not just black women who you can't talk about. Oh well, let's break some news.
Tommy Sotomayor is my mentor. My Sotomayor tour. Sotomayor tour. My mentor. I mean, but this is Tommy Sotomayor, and he's making his commentary. I'm going to finish up with the one where I was going, which is how ready and enabled for the black woman to say crucify him.
Hello everyone and welcome to Soto Sports. I'm Tommy Sotomayor and this is an update that everybody wanted me to have a story to tell about it. Well, I talked about it when I was driving from Vegas, but I will go into it right now. And you know, superstar quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, his name is Cam Newton. And Cam Newton, after a big win of this past weekend, he was interviewed or had a question asked of him by a white bitch by the name of Jordan Rodrigue. Jordan Rodrigue. Jordan Rodrigue. J-O-U-R-D-A-N. Jordan Rodrigue. R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E. Now, she got a blue check by name, and this white bitch apparently was offended by something that my man stated. Now, I don't know why she was that offended because, well, it was sort of true. Or not even that it was true. How about this? It was how he felt. And maybe he has the right to feel that way. I don't know. I could be stupid, but you guys tell me if you think Cam Newton has a right to feel that way. Well, apparently this white bitch does not, because this white bitch put out in a tweet which stated this. I don't think it's funny to be a female and talk about routes. I think it's my job. Well, bitch, it's still funny even if it's your motherfucking job. How about if my job was to sit around and, let me think of some shits. How about if my job was to tell a woman how this shoe feels and walk around in it? Now, doesn't mean that I'm not a...
How about a female tells me, as I'm dissertating about how it feels to have a baby? Would it be improper for a female to laugh and say, I think it's funny for Mr. Robert? Mr. Me, this is me. That's me right there, with my legs crossed, and I'm looking into the camera, and this is me looking at you saying, I don't care how far I spread my legs, wide open. I don't know what it's like to run a route, because running a route is not like, oh, well, he ran a... I had my hand slammed between two helmets. Like, slammed. Two helmets smashed on my hand. And then I had to run the ball and put the ball in that same hand that got smashed between helmets. So I'm pretty sure that a woman could experience that and know what it's like to run a route after having that happen to you. But I think you understand what I'm saying.
Cross-dresser or Caitlyn Jenner. But it would be hilarious for this woman to be looking for somebody to show her some things about shoes and my black ass walk out. Or if it was somebody trying to teach people how to do heavy metal or grunge music and my black ass walked out, they might laugh. I was singing rock and roll today and it was nothing but white tunes and the white people in the audience was laughing. They were shocked that a black man was singing like that. I sang a bunch of Garth Brooks songs, and every time I do it, white people laugh because they're surprised that my black ass would be singing that. Now, there's nothing wrong with people finding something funny that's out of the ordinary. But in my opinion, Cam Newton continued to be professional afterwards. So what I'm going to do right now is let you guys see the clip of Mr. Cam Newton and what all the hoopla is about. So Cam Newton, go ahead and take the floor.
Yeah, I know you take a lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny. But fun is coming along, man. We're gonna. This is a big game for him because of him being from Detroit.
Wait a minute. What the fuck did he say? He said something was funny. Oh, okay. You can't say nigger. You can't say, illegal alien. You can't say, fuck you. You can't. There's all these words that you can't say. But I mean, he said something was funny. Because I think it would be funny if a man said he could understand and explain what it's like to have a baby.
And seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny. But fun is coming along, man. We're gonna. This is a big game for him because of him being from Detroit and.
All right, let's go with a segue. Maybe it's G. Okay, segue. He moved interruptions from funny to Funches. Segue. So they missed the. He went from funny to Funches. But I, you know what? I noticed it.
Go ahead and take the floor.
Yeah, I know you take a lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny. But fun is coming along, man. We're gonna. This is a big game for him because of him being from Detroit.
Okay, so this is well documented. Please look up Tommy Sotomayor. But this is where I wanted to go. Is this thing right here? That thing right here. How she is ready to crucify him. They're always ready. They're always ready.
When I first heard the comment, I felt like he was talking to her as if she was speaking above her knowledge level. If you look at his face, he was reacting from when she first used the word route. He started to react off of that. And I felt like it was also a little bit of tone of disrespect in the way that he addressed her. Because if you notice in the comment, he said, it's funny to hear females. He didn't even say female reporters.
It's funny, fucking motherfucking funny. It's funny. It's funny. Expressing a speaking objection to another laughter or mockery. She started to laugh. What's so funny? Why do you need to know? Use it to emphasize that something is unpleasant or wrong that should be regarded seriously or avoided. It's difficult to explain, understand, or strange. I had a funny feeling you'd be around. A funny thing. It smells funny. Da 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 da. By funny, I mean not fucking funny. I find it funny. I do find it funny. But am I not allowed to find something funny? Am I not allowed to find something funny?
Even include her profession in what she was saying. And the reason why I was dismayed is because I know personally, obviously, what it has taken just to even be sitting in this chair right now. I know of all the women that I respected that have come before me, and you mentioned them, from the Lisa Salters to the Pam Olivers to the Judy Batista to the Sally Jenkins to the Patricia Trainors, Lindsey Jones, and what have you. Women that when they come into the locker room, you know that they are bringing the thunder. Not just with how they're coming in the locker room, but with the information that they have and the content.
Is Mr. Tommy Sotomayor my mentor? This is my painting of Charleston, South Carolina, Peninsula, looking over the Ashley River Bridge. My concept. I didn't get rich off of this picture. I did not make any money off of it. But, my whole life is not consumed by constructs. I construct videos. I have almost 1,000 videos. Mgtow. Now it's October 12th. So let's go with October 12th. 2017, my mother passed away. I don't spend my day. I love creating art. This is some of the art that I have created. But I was created, and I'm not better than the person, the being that created me, my mother and father. Fundamentally, my mother and father. They're always ready to get on the front line and say, crucify him.
They feel that is important. And so to hear him use such a term that is disappointing because it's all encompassing, it brings us all into it. And so because, like you mentioned, you think that he's so astute and he comes off so senatorial, you're surprised that he wasn't even cognizant of how that was sounding as it was coming out of his mouth. But at the same time, I felt like he should have try to bring it back in the moment and not just even on a side conversation, and that didn't even happen. Now, talking to the Panthers even before we came on, they said that there were a couple of things that happened in that conversation from Cam's perspective that he feels was not reflected in Scott Fowler's article, okay? But it doesn't excuse it because at the same time, you can't scrub the generic term. That's what you can't walk back. The only thing that would perhaps mitigate that somewhat is personal knowledge of Cam Newton or a personal interaction. And I would have to say from my personal interaction.
She's the demon. she's the demon, and I wouldn't even I wouldn't be surprised if she was not a he. There's all types of things and all types of people that are out there to
He acknowledged how offensive it was.
talk to the tribe, to the black tribe. I'm not a part of the black, so-called black tribe. I'm just me. I'm only an individual. I'm just a man, a follower, disciple of the Most High Heavenly Father Yahshua. Do you have that in? So they don't have it in this dictionary, but Yahshua, Jesus, let's just say for the masses, Jesus, the name that some people say pronounce Jesus Jesus. But there'll always be these farmers that tell the chickens, "I'm keeping you safe from the foxes." The farmers who tell you, "I'm keeping you safe from the foxes."
And he spoke to the residual impact that it ultimately had, not just on loved ones, but women the world over. He seemed to be sensitive to that, and he acknowledged that, obviously he's paid the price for it. Now, for those of you out there that want to look at him and say, well, he's only saying this because he lost an endorsement deal, no, I would say think about this for a second. Cam Newton signed a 5-year, $103 million deal, a $22.5 million signing bonus, $60 million in guaranteed dollars. He's scheduled to be paid $23.5 to $24 million this season alone. The brother ain't broke. He's doing just fine. So obviously it's something that, even though obviously he doesn't want sponsors dropping him, the reason why possibly, or in all likelihood, resonated with him profoundly. And I think when we look at it from that perspective, now it's time to look at ourselves. And instead of questioning him, it's about asking what level of forgiveness and what level of compassion is in our hearts. When somebody's made a mistake, they've acknowledged that they've made that mistake. They've apologized publicly. Now, what are we going to do as human beings who are not infallible, who have all, failed in the eyes of God and beyond? What are we going to do in terms of showing an appropriate level of compassion? I think he's done what he was supposed to do. Now it's incumbent upon us to show some compassion, because certainly none of us are flawless.
He can't change the past. He can't change that moment.
He did what he did.
There are worse moments in human history than the one that he had. So he can't change that moment, but he can own it and include. When you mention endorsements, he mentioned that he didn't skirt that issue. He said, "I've already lost endorsements." In other words, that's a significant thing, but it's more than that. So by broaching that topic, he should. And, oh, by the way, it's one thing you said people are not infallible and people should forgive Cam and all this stuff. It's not that he has to be perfect from now on, because people will make mistakes even about, the issue that they've made a mistake about in the past, right? But people will be watching him now. The price that he pays, when I say it's over, it doesn't mean there's some bad behavior and you can apologize and it's though it never happened. No, people will have their eye on Cam now to see if he walks the walk in this respect rather than just talk the talk. So that's a kind of an ongoing thing for him and a consequence of his bad behavior in that moment. But a person, a human being, makes a mistake and then owns the mistake and shows real humility in doing it and shows an understanding of that mistake. At that point, I don't even think it's about convincing me or you or anyone that that's what's truly in his heart, because I can.
You hear that with that nice white man talking? Listen to her.
Anytime I have talked to him or interviewed him or been in that locker room, he has been respectful of me. I have not had that personal experience. I felt like in watching that interaction with the two of them, I saw a little bit of a lack of respect and lack of familiarity with those two. But at the same time, even in a locker room, there's a variety of experiences with the players in that locker room. And just like in a
So I just want to say that when you're giving birth to a baby, I think it must hurt. I just think that running that birth pattern of the baby you know, exiting my, uh, I don't know, European tube. I don't know. I'm not going to bring up the dictionary. I'm just going to just go with, do not believe me. Do not believe anybody. Make your own videos. Today is October the 12th, 2017. I lost my mother February 28th, 2017, and it still hurts. And all these frivolous things going on. Frivolous, because the man said funny. And they're always out there to lead the charge.
There are people like a Stephen A. There's a person like you. There's a Wilbon, and there might be someone like me and someone just starting out. And you still have to address all reporters with the same level of courtesy and decorum. And that's what you're disappointed that didn't come through in his comments.
Here's where.
Make your own videos. Do your own research. Do not believe me. Do not believe her. Do not believe this thing right here. Do not believe it. Make your own videos. Do your own research. Remember, when there's one, there's no fun. When there's two, you better run. When there's three, I will not be. Good night.